colleagues. All right, I am glad to announce to the class that a lot of people have shared the questions, and I spent most of my time collecting the assessments, the previous year's assessments. So we can gladly say we have the past papers from 2019 up to 2024, last year. So the only paper that we don't have is for this year in investments analysis, but we also have the assignments and the tests for this year with us, which makes it a good thing. And we are now ready to move faster because we have questions, and we will just spend most of our time answering questions. We know that questions will help you to just understand how to deal with these issues. And as for now, we require you to enjoy the conversation and ask questions where not clear, and just give some contributions where you feel like you can contribute, because I mean, this is just a revision work that we are trying to do. Let's start from 2021, and I am recording the session for you. Question number 1 was compulsory, and I will start from the very first one. It reads, question 1.1 reads, define the term contingency and give examples of insurable contingencies. What do you understand by the term contingency, and give examples of insurable contingencies? What do you understand by contingencies? Anyone to just give us comments? I mean, we are just discussing, it's a group discussion. What is a contingency?
Can I give it a try?
Yeah, you can go ahead, sir. Thank you.
A contingency refers to a situation whereby you are, when you are in need, there may be some kind of a help or solution provided.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that one. Do we have anyone else who has a contra one or an addition to the same? What is a contingency? Ladies are well represented as well in the group. What is a contingency?
In my own simple understanding, maybe something to fall back on in case need arises in future.
Thank you. A backup
like
plan.
Like a backup plan, yes.
Okay. I like that one as well. Thank you very much. Do we have the last one? What is a contingency? What is a contingency? All right. Can you hear me clearly? Can you also see the screen? Anyone to just quickly confirm? We proceed.
Yes, we're able to hear you and see the screen.
Okay, thank you. So a contingency refers to a future event or a circumstance that is possible, but it cannot be predicted with certainty. You understand, eh? Any future occurrence, a phenomena, the circumstance that is possible, but cannot be predicted with certainty. Yeah. If you can't predict that occurrences with certainty, then that becomes a contingency. So in terms of insurance now, it is an uncertain event that may or may not happen. And if it does happen, then it triggers, a claim under an insurance policy. That is a contingency. So we have defined it, what it is generally. We said this refers to a future or, a circumstance, an occurrence that is possible, but cannot be predicted with certainty. But in terms of insurance, since this is insurance, you know, it is uncertain event, occurrence happening that may or may not happen. And if it does happen, then it triggers a claim under an insurance policy. That is what a contingency is. Is that clear? Are we good with that one? Now, can we give examples of insurable contingencies, having defined what it is? What are some of the insurable incidences, insurable events? In other words, since you have known that a contingency is basically an occurrence. So are you able to give us some of the examples of those insurable contingencies or insurable occurrences? Examples.
Motor car accident.
All right, thank you very much. So there is a motor car accident. That one is covered under motor vehicles insurance, isn't it? There is a policy that is there to cover that. That is one of the events, correct. Do we have any other examples of those occurrences? Any occurrence that we know that it is insurable, actually, it can be covered under a certain policy. That's the understanding of the question. Anyone can turn on their mic and just, contribute to this.
I don't know what term this is used, but I see people do is it property?
Okay. What about
in my company we have such like housing, and I don't know where it falls, but you can insure your home, property, your TVs, and everything in the house in case there's a fire, such things. But I don't know where that falls.
Thank you very much, colleagues. We have heard that to some of us who may want to insure our property, insure our houses, our belongings, the content of the house, you can easily get in touch with Teresa. All right, I'm marketing now on behalf of the company, though they have not yet paid for me. They have not paid me to market, but marketing. So it's a serious company. They do cover all those things. They give you the claims as once you claim, they are able to clear the claims within the shortest possible period of time. They are really good people. You can consider getting covered under them. Teresa knows that I'm correct with what I'm saying. She's able to confirm.
No, let me correct that one. I'm not saying
Okay.
I'm not saying I have a company that does that, but the company that I work for is engaged with another company that does that for staff. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the correction. So we know that through their company, Teresa and their company, they are able to do everything that we have stated. Okay. So that is called property insurance. Any other events that can be covered? Do we have any other events that we know that it can be covered? We are talking about the examples of those insurable contingencies. Let's just add to the number. We have talked about 2. Do we have some more? Are these the only events that we know that can be covered, that are insurable? Don't we know any others? Events?
Yes. You can be insured in the health, in case you have illnesses in future.
Yes.
Health insurance.
Health insurance. Thank you very much. So You can be covered, you can have a health insurance policy where you are covered in case you have illnesses in future. Yeah, so that is one of the contingencies as well. Any other contingency? There are so many, like that's why I keep on asking. There are quite a lot. Each one of us actually can manage to mention one.
Sir, what about reinsurance?
You may add, maybe you add light to the same for the sake of others.
Like, for example, an insurance company insures its liability with another insurance company.
Okay, thank you very much for that one. She has brought a very important concept as well. Reinsurance. You get you're an insurance company, then you think that maybe the risk that you have gotten is too much, you know. You feel like there is also a probability of you not being able to meet the claims somehow. So you can also have that liability shared with another insurance company. That's a concept of reinsurance, all right? You are insuring, you're an insurance company, you cover these people, for example. After covering them, you also realize that you may also somehow maybe not manage to cover everything. How should I say? When the claim comes, you know that this is too much level of risk. Maybe let me share also the risk with another particular company. So this is where the concept of reinsurance comes in, where an insurance company covers, and again, it does share the risk with another insurance company. Very, very important concept. Thank you very much for that one. Do we have any other examples of those events that we can insure? Okay, so you can also insure life, you know that, in terms of death. And yeah, in case you die, then you get to claim. That is under life insurance. You can also do that. Yeah, there are quite a lot of events, really. Accidents, that is under traveling, you can cover those under travel insurance. And there are quite a lot of them. I think we can get back to literature and just get more light. But the comments that we are giving are that there are quite a lot of contingencies that are insurable. Now, having said all this, we are going to part 2 of the question. Is saying, for each of the following, give the appropriate definition for a life ages of X years. This question is reading, for each of the following, A, B, give the appropriate definition, of course, give an appropriate definition. And that is for a life ages of, let's say, X years. So the first one is in, what is this? This is at time T, the probability, you know, and this X years. So how do you interpret this one? That's the definition. What definition would you give to this one? Anyone? How do you read this this probability? I've already given a tip that it is a probability. What does it denote? Hello? Are we still connected? How do you read this one? Okay. Are we still connected? Anyone confirm
Yes,
we are
sir.
still connected? Okay, thank you. So it denotes, yeah, this one denotes the probability, right? The probability the likelihood that a person, this person is aged X years, right? Is aged X years, will survive. Will survive. Will survive how many years? Will survive for 40 years. Actually, not 40 years, 40 more years, because it's an addition. It's an increment, 40 more years, right? That is to say, until the age, that is to say, until they reach the age of what? X plus time. Is that clear? So we are reading the probabilities. So this denotes the probability that a person who is aged X number of years will survive for T more years until they reach the age X plus T. Okay, so if you are to denote this mathematically, you can say, T probability of X is to be given as the indices. Let me do the indices. You remember the index I, like IX plus 1, the higher one, plus E, the lower one. You remember this, we had this in your assignment, and you just do this simple division, okay, then you should be fine. You don't know what the denotation IX plus 1 denotes. This is the number of, basically the number of people alive at age X. This one at the age X plus 1 is the number of people alive at the age X plus 1, which is an additional year, right? X plus 1. Then this one is the number of people alive at age X. When you divide this into that, remember you're dividing this into that, then that gives you that TPX. So now, okay. Having said all that, so if you are to bring numbers, because at least we do well with numbers. If I write 5, probability, of what? 5 probability of what? Let me just say the person is 30, like this. You're following this, eh? This is not permutation. Do you remember permutations, eh? You remember permutations from what course is that? Oh, business, math, and statistics. You remember dealing with permutations at some point. This could be expressed as a permutation, something like this. Yeah, you said permutations could still be expressed as this, well, stay like this, Don't work with these. These are not permutations. So you don't take that direct approach. So to read this, you would say, this is the probability that a person who is aged 30 years right now can survive 5 more years, all right, up to the age 30 plus 5, which is equal to 35 years old. So basically, this is a probability that a person who is how many years? Who is 35 years, who is 30 years, shall live 5 more years. Yeah, and die at 35. That is what, that's the interpretation of this. I guess you have gotten it now. Yeah. Any question? There is no question. Then let's proceed, if we do not have any question, to the following. What about this one? Anyone who wants to add a comment on this one, the DX?
I can give an attempt.
Yes, you can go ahead. Thank you.
I'm thinking the person aged, the person would die at the age X.
The exact age.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that one. That's a nice one. So this represents the number of deaths between the exact age ranges, and the exact one is basically XE and the XE plus 1. It's just exact in between. So the exact ages, that is age named plus the higher age, just 1 year ahead, you know, and then do those computations, then you should be fine. Because remember, dx, from what we gave you last time, we're saying this is ix minus c, ix plus 1. You remember this, eh? This is the formula that we communicated to you on how to find it. So basically, it's that range, yeah? This is the range, and then you are good. And this is just 1 knot high in terms of the time period. It's just 1 unit high. Okay, having said that, then the mortality over a certain population is given by the life table function. And this life table function is interesting. I told you that life tables functions are a lot, really, they are a lot. These are just functions. Remember defining relationships. So it's not really that you can have only one function and memorize this function. Let's have this. So it is given as 150 in case of this question, 2x. And again, the people live between age 0 up to what? 75. You're following, right? That's a condition given. So the age ranges from 0 and 75. There is nothing much to do with that information. Yeah, there is nothing much that you can do with that. You get the point, right? Hello, yeah. There is nothing much that you can do with that information, especially that the age is ranging from 0 up to 75. Okay. So now, can you calculate the values of the following expressions? I think now you are okay. We have the first one, A, which is the 15 more years. And okay, no, sir. Allow people to interpret this based on what you have taught. How do you interpret this? What is required here? What are we looking for? 15 P, then 45. From what we have just said. I mean, we just talked about this.
Just a try, sir.
Yes, you can go ahead now.
Simply, it denotes the possibility that a person aged 45 has 15 more years to live.
Okay, thank you very much. So, thank you. That is clear. So, the time and the probability of XC is given as, remember I said IX plus 1, right? Divided by, you know, IX. That's the formula, isn't it? That's what we gave you. So now, let's find the IX using the function given. So at 45, if it's 45, let's start at 45. That is at age X. So it will be 150 minus 2 times 45. Is that clear? Yes, that is very clear. So 150 minus 90, 2 times 45 is 90. So 150 minus 90, it should give you 60, correct? That is at age 45, which is your age X, isn't it? This is your X according to what we explained to you, all right? So we have found the first one. That's your denominator. Your denominator is 60. Let's deal with the numerator. Remember, the numerator is X plus 1, which is higher. Now this is a bit higher. And the higher one, in our case, is is this one, right? So we will have X plus, actually it's not X plus T, not 1. X plus T, that's what we have communicated, not one. This is T. So X plus T now, that is you add X 45 plus the time, 15, giving us 60, right? Yes, sir. 45 plus 15 is 60. You have added the T. So you say 150 minus 2 times 60. 150 minus what? 2 times 60 is 120. So that gives us 30, yeah? So that is for IX plus T. So this gives us 30. So that the probability can be equal to what? 0.5, isn't it? I mean, 30 divided by 60 is 0.5. We know that already. Okay? So it's just 0.5. It's 50% really. No, 0.5 is same as 50%. So there is a 50% probability that someone who is 45 years can live 15 more years up to 60. 50% chance. According to this lifetime. Yeah, especially that our economy, our life expectancy has started improving even in our country. You know that stuff. What is our life expectancy? Maybe just for the sake of knowledge and asking. What is our life expectancy now? I mean, we are just learning these things. We need to, follow nicely. What is Zambia's current life expectancy? Am I disconnected?
You are connected, sir.
Yes. So what is the expectancy? The life expectancy? Usually there is a difference between females and males. Females always live longer than male everywhere in the world. I don't know the reasons. Maybe you can add more reason. You know the reasons. Eh? Our life expectancy is really improving as a country. Remember in 2021, it was around 62 on average. That's the average one, both male and female average. Eh? And 2023, it was around 66.35 somewhere there, and 67.7 somewhere there on average. Eh? But what about for females now? Where is it standing, like currently? My insurance managers, how do you play with this information? Really, it's very important information. What's the life expectancy? So that when you start getting closer there, you can start writing wills. I'm just joking, but I think it's important. What's the life expectancy? Okay, we can really consult different sources, but on average, for females, it's around the 69, around 69.1, somewhere there. And then for males, it's still 64.3, somewhere there. That's for Zambia. 64 years on average. If a man lives beyond 64 years in Zambia right now, as of 2025, that person has lived beyond the average.
The current one is 62.3.
Oh, the current, that what source is that?
Females.
What source is that?
Google.
Google. Google. Let's use the World Bank data set. Let's use very reliable source. Okay, thank you very much for that one. Yeah, but writing on the World Bank data set, these are the figures that I'm giving. Okay. We're using the World Bank data bank. At least that is the highly dependable data. Are we good? You know the 60, you know the 62 somewhere was for 2021, somewhere there. But the pressure is that Google stuff. The information, it takes time to be updated there. You understand, eh? But for the World Bank, you know that the data set for World Bank in the data bank is constantly being updated every year. So that's why I'm trying to recommend that we rely on that data bank. Are we good? Yes, we are good. Okay, so anyway, back to the question. This is what we are talking about. So it's 50%, that is the chance. Okay. Let's cross to, yes, sir.
So I wanted to ask, so which simply means this one, the denominator, the case that we have found, it's the answer that before we add time.
Yes, that is before we add time. Like the 60 one was at X, at point X. If you follow the way how I defined this function, this is at IX. If you check, you've seen the formula, it's here. This
Yes,
is
sir.
at X, yeah, when we put 45, but we are using this function. Now the function, yeah, this is the function that we are using. Anyway, let me not say much. Yeah, that's what we are saying. Okay. We are good, right? We can proceed.
Yes, sir.
Let's proceed to B. This one is 20 Q10. How do you interpret this one? How do you work with this one? You remember the concept that I explained of complement probabilities? Ooh, someone had called me and I was explaining to them over there. Is it given? Or is it etc. Z or someone else? One of the people had called me and I was trying to explain to them the complement probabilities some time back. Anyways, I've forgotten the persons. But anyway, we are talking about the concept of complement probabilities here. Remember, on complement probability, it is said that the probability that an event shall occur plus the probability that an event is not occurring should be equal to 1. Do you remember that, eh? Probability of success plus the probability of failing, that is the probability that the event shall not occur, is equal to 1. The probability that Zambia qualifies, the national soccer team, qualifies to the World Cup is let's say is 60%, right? Then we do know that when we add the 60% of qualifying plus the probability of not qualifying, they should give us 1 because that's total probability. So therefore, if we are to find the probability of not qualifying, it shall just be the probability of failing equal to 1 minus the probability of qualifying, isn't it? That's success. You get what I mean, eh? If everything sums up to 1. So in the context of this very question, when you see this Q, we're dealing with complement probability. So this is as good as, what is this? Let's say TQX. This is equal to 1 minus TPX. Yeah. Remember, this is the direct probability. So if you can compute the direct probability in that case, and then deduct from, deduct that from 1, then you should be fine. You get the point, right? So maybe defining now what this probability is looking for. So this probability does denote the probability that a person who is aged 10 years, dies within the next 20 years. before reaching the age of what? 30. Did you get that one? Someone will ask, what is the difference now? Remember, when you're dealing with P, that's a probability of success. So there we are looking at the probability of surviving. Surviving is positive. It's a success to us. Are you following, eh? Surviving is a success. So it's, yeah, it's our success. So we use the probabilities P. But when we tend to be negative, you know, the probability of surviving plus the probability of dying, they should all equal to 1. So when we are speaking of negatives, that's death in this case, then we are looking for the complement probability. Okay, so we have heard and you have explained. So now, in the case of this very question, we will say 1 minus C, you know, our T is, you say it is 20 years, and P of 10. You get the point, eh? And P of 10. Okay. So let's proceed. We need to find the one for the probability of 10 and, 30. Using the same function. So you say 150 minus 2 times 10. That gives us what? What do we get? That is for the denominator one. You know how we work with this. That is for this denominator one, right? Remember your answer is 1 minus C, XC plus T divided by X, like that, isn't it? Because this one gives us the probability of T and X, isn't it? That's what that gives you, like just this area, this thing in the parentheses that I've circled. Okay. So I've replaced it by putting the formula. So what do we find? 150 minus 20, it should be 130, yeah? Yes, sir. And then the next one is where we add 10 plus 20, giving us 30. So it will be 2 times 30, close like that, 60. 150 minus 60, it should give us what? That's the added one, that's X plus T, 90. So that you can say 90 divided by what? By 130, and all that deducted from 1, so that your probability can be equal to what? 1 minus, what is 90 divided by 30? 90 divided by 30?
3.
Is it 3? 90 divided by 30, like in the divisor is to be 130, and then the dividend is supposed to be 90. What do you find?
Uh, 0.333.
0.33.
Yes.
Have you already deducted from 1?
You have said 90 divided by what? 30.
130.
130. Oh, sorry. 90 divided by 130. 0.69.
Just that?
0.6923.
Okay, 0.96923. Minus 1. Okay, deduct 1. Which one? Get it from 1. Deduct it from 1.
Okay, so it will give me 0.3076.
0.3076. Okay. So that's the
97.
probability of dying, eh? Yeah, that's the probability of dying and not reaching the age of 30. It's crazy. All right. We want to hear the probability of surviving, not of dying. But it's almost all the same stuff, though. Yeah. But you should really be careful in the way how you understand those probabilities. They are different, eh? The probability of surviving and the probability of dying. Okay. Any questions? We move on to something else. We go to part 4 of the question. Is there any question? Are we still connected?
Sorry if I get you right. What did you say? What it denotes? This one, the B one.
The probability. This one is the probability that a person who is aged 10 years, yeah, dies within the next 20 years. That is before they can reach their next birthday. That is the X plus T birthday. That's 30th.
Okay, well.
We are good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's get to this one now. We'll move a bit faster. Can you state the main difference between an overhead expense and a direct expense incurred in, in writing a life insurance policy, and give an example for each? State the main difference between, okay, what is the difference between overhead expense and the direct expense, really? Of course, contextualizing it to writing a life insurance policy and give an example for each of them. Okay? Let's start from overhead expenses. What do you understand by overhead expenses? We all did cost accounting. I remember most of you were with me. What did we say overhead costs are, or overhead? What does the word overhead mean in terms of costing and expenses? Expenditure. Do we still remember? We don't remember. Okay. Don't worry if you can't remember. We did mention that the word overhead simply means indirect. So these are indirect expenses, in other words. These are indirect expenses, the overheads. So to define them, we can say that these are general costs that are not directly attributable to a specific product. And in this case, we're talking about the policies, right? So you can say not directly attributable to a specific policy, yeah? But they are necessary for the operation of the insurance business. You got that one, eh? Those are, overheads, eh? So we are saying these are they are general costs. These are just costs or expenses, if you may like putting them like that, that are not, the key word is that they are not directly traced or traceable, directly traceable, attributable to what? To a specific policy, eh? Policy, that is insurance policy for that matter. But these are necessary for what? They're necessary for the operation or the functioning, the working of the insurance firm or insurance business. Can we now cite examples? What costs do you think are necessary now? At least you have defined what they are. You now know them. Examples? Okay. So examples would include rent, right? Rent, administrative salaries, the
Transportation.
administrative, yeah. Like those costs that are not really directly attributed, and you already know that. Okay. What about direct expenses. The direct one are the opposite, really. These are attributable, right? They are traceable. They are traceable to a specific policy. The overheads, they just support the business as a whole, and they are not linked to an individual policy. But these, at least, they are traceable to a specific policy, and they can be linked to an individual policy. And examples should include, what examples would you put of this? Some of you are working for insurance companies. Some of you are owning insurance companies in here. So you can tell us, how do you do it, the things at your working places or in your companies, those insurance firms? What costs do you think can be traced to a specific policy? You know,
Printing of insurance documents.
printing of insurance documents. Thank you. What else? All right. Define the word trustee as used in pensions and outline any roles and responsibilities of a pension fund trustee. Who is a trustee? What is your understanding of the term trustee? Of course, as it is used in pensions. Trustee. Okay, so in pensions, if an individual is a trustee, that simply means that that person is appointed to manage the pension scheme assets, usually on behalf of the members and the beneficiaries, fisheries, in accordance with the trust's law and the scheme rules as outlined by SEC. Remember, SEC does control all these things again. Yeah, and also by the bodies. So now, the person, an individual, it can be an individual or it can be an institution, right? An individual or an institution that is appointed to manage, the scheme assets. Remember, we call this a scheme. It's an arrangement, kind of an arrangement. So there are assets for this arrangement. So these assets should be kept, right? Should be managed, yeah, on behalf of all of us, the members, because we can't all find ourselves in leadership. So we can appoint independent persons to manage these assets on behalf of us and on behalf of these other beneficiaries. And in accordance with the trust law, of course, this person has to follow the law and the scheme rules, really. That will be the law as is stipulated, guided by the constitution of the land, and then there are rules, the scheme rules that we set ourselves as the scheme shall have its own rules, and also the laws will be there as outlined in the constitution of the land or in the act. They have to be followed. Okay, so that person, you call them trustee, or that institution can be called a trustee. Some of you want to become trustees, right? Please, you have known what a trustee is, so you can become one. Just be licensed. There are licenses. You need a license for you to become a trustee and manage these assets. Now, your roles are as follow as a trustee. One, of course, we have already said that you are to manage the assets. Asset management, you oversee the investments of pension funds to ensure long-term returns. That's what you do. You have to oversee the investments. All right, the investments of what? You are investing the funds of this of the pensions fund to ensure long-term investments. You remember last time we made mention to us that usually the money that you do what? You remit or you sorry, the money that you remit as to the insurance company, that money is not just kept there, so it is invested. And again, you administer the policy, that is policy administration. You ensure that the scheme is operated according to the trusted deeds or the rules of that. So administration of the policy really is what you do, okay? And some of the responsibilities that you have, apart from the roles, the responsibilities would include you acting in the best interest of the scheme members. That is your responsibility, all right? Your responsibility is to ensure that you act in the best interest of the scheme members. And again, you are responsible to ensure compliancy, that you are compliant with the requirements. Of course, these could be legal or regulatory, right? The legal and regulatory requirements, such as the reporting to the regulators, filing in of the returns, among others. All those are some of the responsibilities that you have. And we come to number 6, explain any 3 possible challenges that arise in trying to achieve the above for trustees in Zambia. For example, why do these guys really fail to achieve that? One of them is that they lack technical expertise, lack of technical expertise. You need to be an expert, really. You need to get some technical expertise to work to be a trustee manager or to be a trustee, really. Some of them could be the regulatory challenges, of course. You see, the regulatory authorities that we have, sometimes the things that they put, or the requirements that they want, you find that there are some of the hindrances, to the trustees' effectiveness. There is all this long super bureaucracy and all this list of some of the requirements, and there are quite a lot of confinements. I think most of you that are participating in the business landscape, you can really see that some of the things really need to be changed. Of course, there are quite a lot of reforms that are taking place now. We are happy with some of the few changes, but still the environment is not yet that optimal. Yeah. And you'll have all those that you may have. Sometimes, again, as a trustee, when you're working as a trustee, you may have this pressure from, for example, your employers or maybe the sponsors. You need to balance because you may have some conflict of interest. At the same time, you want to make sure that you protect all the scheme members, but at the same time, you may have on the other side, there are these employers of yours, they're also pushing their own agendas. And so you have to make sure that you strike a balance between all those. Plus many other challenges that you can find in literature. At least we have discussed these.